Hi, I'm Caden, here with my brother,
Cal,
and you're listening to Eating W's.
eat the W.
That's a W. Let's eat one. Let's eat one. That's a W.
So, on today's episode of Eating W's, we have a very news-packed, exciting episode.
A little bit to catch up on.
Yesterday, we are recording this on Tuesday night, and yesterday started the tampering period of NFL free agency. So though none of the signings or extensions have officially gone through yet until tomorrow, which is the official start of the next league year, they're kind of official. Like, you know they're going to happen.
They're unofficially official.
They just can't be official yet. Exactly. Unofficially official. I like that. So anything we talk about here will very likely happen, and especially with the extensions, and of course the releases actually did happen. And we have a ton of news, so let's just jump right on into it. So first off, we're going to go through some of the extensions that happened. These aren't re-signings, no free agency involved. These are just true extensions of contracts. So starting there, we have Harold Landry re-signing with the Titans on a 5-year deal worth $87.5 million, with just over 50 of that being guaranteed. So big deal for a linebacker there, but like I said during my mock, the Titans' defense is not too hot, so they need to retain any players.
I think you picked an edge rusher and how they needed one because Landry was not not tagged.
Yeah,
and now I see why he wasn't tagged.
Because they're going to make him the big deal. Next up, speaking of rushers, another great one. The Raiders extended a defensive end Max Crosby on a 4-year, $98.98 million deal. Of course, because he wears number 98, just to explain that weird number there, but another great extension there. And then one close to home, the Vikings extended Kirk Cousins through the 2023 season, giving him $35 million, I think, is the price this year, and $40 million next year. Can't remember how it works exactly. It's a $35 million extension, and then it kind of affected how his cap hit happens this year and pushes some of that money onto next year. Can't remember exact numbers, but something it did do was take almost $14 million out of our cap, putting us down to, I believe we're still just over the cap at $2 or $3 million, but definitely putting a big hit on that. So I'm excited. And I'm actually happy with the Cousins signing. I know a lot of the Vikings fan base is very torn on that, but I'm kind of pro Cousins. I think that we should probably only keep him these next 2 years. I'd be really surprised if we extended him again or kept going after these next 2 years. But, for now, if we want to be in win-now mode, I think he's the best person on the roster and the best person readily available to be in the win-now mode. So
I guess he's the best option available, but there's
not much of a market.
Mediocre quarterback.
Oh, I'd give him more than mediocre. I wouldn't give him like superstar or anything, but I'm really excited to see what he can do in this new pass-heavy offense, because there's a chance he kind of crumbles having to pass so much and not being on the run, being able to lean on the run game. But I really think he's going to thrive in a place where he can really have that 5 wide and space out those receivers and get them open. I think he'll do really well in that. The Patriots are bringing back Devin McCourty on a 1-year, $9 million extension. So good for him. I believe he's spent his whole career in New England, if I'm not mistaken. He's been in the league, I want to say 11 or 12 years, so pretty good for him. And then hitting close to home for Callan, the other quarterback, the Packers extend Aaron Rodgers on what ended up being a 3-year, $150.8 million deal. So still getting about $50 million a year, but it's not 4 years. It ends up being 3 years. And I want to give a quick shout out to Tom Pellisario, somebody that we've actually met, which is kind of cool. But he explained the cap this morning when I was watching NFL Network in a way that made me finally understand how these void years work. I was very confused how that worked. But pretty much all it does is just push all the payments to the end of the contract. So what that means is if you guys leave Rodgers, or if Rodgers retires after the 2 main years or 3 years, you're beyond screwed.
There's a large cap hit.
I believe Pellisario himself said it was a $68 million dead cap hit after 2 years if he either retires or
because in 2 years the TV deals all renew. So the cap is projected to possibly go over $250 million. which we're basically banking on.
A $68 million dead cap hit, though. Boosted cap or not, wow, that's a big hit. So
but it did slash his cap number in half this year.
I think you guys might be actually over the cap or under the cap.
We're now under, just shy of it. Yeah.
So the cap's a myth, bro. It's gonna catch up eventually, but
it will.
It just seems like it's a myth right now. It's so annoying to see. But moving on to the good, to the bad with the released players that have been released in the past week. Starting with a very surprising one, in my opinion. Middle linebacker Bobby Wagner was released from the Seattle Seahawks. And in my opinion, this is proof that they're going into rebuild mode. I know they still have Pete Carroll, but you trade Russell Wilson, you release Bobby Wagner. It just seems like a rebuild.
I think Pete Carroll's a great coach to go for a rebuild with.
That's true. He might be older, but he worked with college guys.
College for so long. He knows how to work with the younger group. So I remember he says, like because of his age, they're not going to do the rebuild. But I mean, he might be maybe not the end result of the rebuild, but I think he's a good person to start it with.
Coaches coach to a high age. Age isn't really much of a thing with coaches. So, back-to-back corners being cut. The Texans cut corner Terrence Mitchell, and the Ravens cut corner Tavon Young. So 2 guys entering free agency now. And then the Cardinals released Jordan Hicks, and I was going to talk about how the Vikings should sign Jordan Hicks. I was going to talk about how he's a really good 3-4 guy. He's an athletic linebacker. He's great in pass coverage, and that we should keep an eye on him. And little spoiler for later, when we talk about free agency signings, the Vikings did sign Jordan Hicks. So you can believe me or not, but I promise I was actually going to say it. They just beat me to it before I could get myself recorded.
It happened literally right before we started.
I was going to say it, but they beat me to it.
It was in his notes.
It was. I got it right here. Getting back to the cuts, the Raiders are going to release linebacker Corey Littleton at the start of the league year, which, cap casualties, they happen. Not overly surprised by that one. 2, I am pretty surprised by. The Bears released both running back Tariq Cohen and defensive tackle Eddie Goldman. Now, they've already re-signed a different defensive tackle. I'm blanking on who exactly. Do you remember, by any chance?
I can't remember which one it is.
They re-signed somebody to replace Eddie Goldman, but 2 surprise cuts there. And Tariq Cohen will be very interesting to see in free agency because he, of course, hasn't played much in the past 2 seasons.
They signed Larry
Ogunjobi. Exactly, from the Bengals. That's who they re-signed to replace him. Tariq Cohen is still a free agent at this moment, though, and I'm going to be interested to see where he goes, because when he's not fighting that injury, now granted he's been hurt with the torn ACL for like the past 2 seasons, which is very out of the ordinary for an ACL injury, but when he's not hurt, he's a game changer. He really is, in his own special way, but yeah. The Giants are releasing their starting punter, Riley Dixon. The Lions are releasing defensive end Trey Flowers only 3 years into his 5-year, $90 million deal that they signed when they picked him up out of free agency, which what a stupid deal to begin with, and it just did not work out, so they're finally just biting the bullet and taking the penalties and releasing him. The Jaguars are releasing running back Carlos Hyde, which I guess Urban Meyer was the only thing keeping him in Jacksonville, and now he's gone, and they have been on a streak with signing free agents, so... The Packers released both Zadarius Smith and offensive lineman Billy Turner, and as a Vikings fan, man, am I excited for the Zadarius Smith release, because I know there's rumors we're going to sign him, and I'm going to be honest, I don't really want to use the little bit of cap money we do have on him, but he always seemed to destroy us when we played the Packers for some reason, so I'm happy to see him leaving the division.
Cap casualty again.
Cap casualty.
High energy guy, and, great. I think it was all amicable.
That's always good, at least.
So, just business of the NFL.
It's crazy, but it happens. Speaking of crazy, but it happens, the Browns released Jarvis Landry, which, I know they picked up Amari Cooper in the trade with the Cowboys, which I'll get to in a little bit, but you still need a wide receiver, too, and, he was such a good locker room guy, like you just said with Smith. Jarvis Landry brought so much energy. He was a total teammate, so I'm really surprised they released him, but he's going to be a good pickup for somebody in free agency. The Vikings released defensive tackle Michael Pierce, which really shocked me because I thought we were going to be going into a 3-4 set, and I thought Michael Pierce would be so good as that 3-4 defensive tackle, but some of the other free agency signings that we've made, and now that we released Michael Pierce, I'm kind of thinking maybe we don't go to the 3-4 with Ed Donatel, but we won't know until they release it or the season starts, so we'll find out. And in what I would randomly say is one of the biggest surprises, in my opinion, the Rams released possibly the best punter in the entire league, Johnny Hecker, which I did not expect them to do that because I can't imagine his cap casualty was, or I can't imagine his cap was any too big.
I mean, I know
they are
reasoning though.
They are way over the cap, so they might be just clearing out whatever they can. But Johnny Hecker is a very, very exciting free agent now, and somebody that I would not mind the Vikings picking up. I really wouldn't. Now moving on to a couple of retirements and one unretirement. Ravens and former Steelers tackle and Alejandro Villanueva retired after 7 seasons in the NFL. And Rams tackle and former Bengals tackle Andrew Whitworth retired after 16 seasons in the NFL. So 2 great tackles leaving the league there. And then as for our unretirement, of course, Tom Brady is back. Not going to say much about it. Brett Favre is coming back again. The Iron Man is back in the league. You can't stop him. No, Tom Brady is coming back, and you have so many other sources, and I'm sure you've already heard 100 things about it, so we'll just leave it at that.
It is what it is.
Back. Yeah.
It lasted 40 days, you know. Favre got a lot of flack for his unretirement, so I don't know why there isn't just as much coming for Brady. It's almost like people expected it because I don't think they expected him to retire. So the only thing is that I guess he's not someone who flip flops like that. They said it's kind of uncharacteristic for him to have changed his mind, but that he must have just decided that he wasn't ready for retirement.
He said he's going to play till 44, and damn well he's going to play till 44. Now, moving on to some trades, starting with the Washington football team, the Indianapolis Colts trading Carson Wentz to the Washington Commanders, not the football team. In this trade, Washington gets Carson Wentz, and they will pay the entirety of his contract, hence why, if you look at the top cap availabilities, the Colts skyrocketed up that list and now have like $60 million in spending room, so that's good for them. And in this, they also get a 2022... I have this written as a 2nd and 7th, but that can't be right.
No, it's a 2nd and a 6th.
2nd and a 6th? Okay. So the Washington gets Carson Wentz and a 2022 2nd and a 6th round pick. And Indianapolis gets a 2022 2nd and 3rd round pick, as well as a conditional 2023 3rd round pick that will become a 2nd rounder if Wentz plays 70% of the snaps in Washington. So I don't know why Wentz gets all these conditional picks. But
not
apparently
just conditional picks, but he's been traded for more draft picks in general. Because remember, Philadelphia had to trade up in the draft to get him. So he originally got traded for a haul of draft picks. I mean, that's a lot of draft picks for one guy.
Carson Wentz is the pick master in 2 ways, on and off the field. Moving on to another trade, though. The Bears are trading freaking legendary edge rusher Cleo Mac to the Chargers for what, in my opinion, is nothing for the player they're getting. The Chargers are, of course, getting Cleo Mac, and the Bears are getting a 2023 2nd and 6th round pick. Not even a 2022 one, a 2023 2nd and 6th round pick. So they gotta wait a whole year to even use those picks. So it's mind-blowing to me that they gave up a player of that caliber. But he was hurt all last season. He's definitely aging. I guess they're clearing house. The Bears are absolutely clearing house. So I guess they're just trying to get what they can out of him. But another crazy thing is they also eat $24 million in dead cap space from this trade. The Bears do. Now, granted, the Chargers take all the rest of Mac's contract, so but really surprising move by the Bears there. Pretty much all the moves they've made have been really surprising to me so far, so crazy. Moving on, a trade I mentioned a little bit ago, the Cowboys are trading wide receiver Amari Cooper to the Browns. The Browns are getting Amari Cooper as well as a 2022 6th-round pick, and the Cowboys are getting a 2022 5th and 6th. So talk about getting traded for nothing. Practically just trading him for a 5th-round pick and a slight move up in the 6th round.
Yeah.
Insane that they're getting that caliber of player.
A lot of these deals have to do with that the other team is taking on the player's salary.
That's what I was just going to mention. The Browns are taking all of Cooper's salary, and the Cowboys were in a very bad cap situation. So big cap casualty there, and we'll have to see what they can do without that.
That's how it goes. Some teams benefit off of it.
They'll have to see if CD Lamb can step up and be that true number one, which I really think he can, but it'll be interesting to see.
He's got it now.
And then now two trades that actually just happened today before we started recording. The Patriots traded guard Shaq Mason to the Bucks. The Bucks will, of course, get Shaq Mason, and the Patriots get a 5th rounder. So another situation of a pretty good player getting traded for a day 3 draft pick, which is just insane. And then, what's my last one? Patriots are trading linebacker Chase Winovich to the Browns for linebacker Mac Wilson, straight up player for player. Which I really, really like Mac Wilson. Man, is he a fast, agile linebacker, and he's pretty young.
And off-the-ball linebacker that the Patriots really needed.
That is a good pickup for the Patriots, and somebody who's going to continue to be good for a while. And the Browns must still be in win-now mode because they're taking a good player, don't get me wrong, in Chase Winovich, but a much older player and kind of a little past his prime, in my opinion. But, wow. That was a lot of news to get out there.
That wasn't even everything.
That wasn't even everything. We're going to talk a little bit about free agency in a little bit after a different topic. But first, I just wanted to kind of see Callan's opinion on Devontae Adams coming out and saying that he will not play on the franchise tag. He's saying, extend me or I'm out of here. What do you think about that?
Didn't expect him to. I'm a little surprised that he just came out and said it, but I think it's a negotiation tool. And it's March, so I'm not concerned at all. I have full confidence that a long-term deal will get done, especially with this Rodgers deal going through. We still got the Jaire Alexander extension to come, which will also open up more cap room. So I believe it will get done. If it gets to like July and no deal is done and he's still saying that, I'll be a little more concerned then. But for right now, I am not.
Interesting.
So that's,
he definitely did say it very early. I feel like it's
a negotiation tool. It's clickbait. It's something for the people to talk about in the media.
It is interesting though because
making me talk about it. I mean, no big deal. No need to talk about it.
I agree that there's no need to talk about it yet, but they're not doing too hot on the cap, and they're re-signing a lot of other players and maybe even looking at some free agents. So
we're back under the cap with the Rodgers deal.
Under it or not, he wants to be the highest paid wide receiver in the league. How are you going to work that out? You can't even extend him anymore. It's going to have to be a whole new contract and a whole new cap.
We'll figure it out.
Cap's a myth. It's so annoying.
Highest paid linebacker, highest paid quarterback, highest paid cornerback, highest paid left tackle, highest paid
receiver.
One of the highest paid running backs.
But that cap, you gotta stay under that cap.
I'm not sure how we do it, but
And then
I'm glad we do.
And then here's the Colts sitting there with no quarterback and $60 million cap room. It's a crazy year to say that.
They're the monopoly player without any properties.
Yeah, they just sit there with all the liquid cash. For real. So moving on to the free agency signings, there is just so many, way too many for us to even begin to try to talk about.
Take a whole day. I mean.
So I just want to shout out a quick website, sporttrack.com. If you just look up like 2022 NFL free agency tracker and then scroll down a little bit, you'll see a website called SportTrack. It is a great website to use for looking at them. It has where the player was, which team the player went to, the contract details.
And their age. I like that.
The age,
the age of the player. That's something.
It's just a great website. If you want to see some of the free agency signings, some of the guys who are still available in free agency, go to SportTrack. Highly recommend it. Mm-hmm. That's where I've gotten all my news. SportTrack, please sponsor us.
That'd be cool.
Hashtag not sponsored, but come on, SportTrack, you got us. So, in lieu of that, we're just going to be talking about some of our favorite free agency signings and then the couple of moves that the Vikings and Packers have made respectively. So, I'll take the lead here and start with one of my favorites being cornerback J.C. Jackson going from the Patriots to a Chargers on a 5-year deal. Man, that Chargers defense went from decent to scary all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
With the addition of J.C. Jackson and Cleo Mac, then you already had guys like Derwin James, Joey Bosa, fast, athletic linebackers like Kenneth Murray. Sorry, I've been watching a little too much Iowa basketball. Kenneth Murray. And then you also have young corners like Asante Samuel Jr. and their free safety, Nassim Adderley. So, very good defense there in Los Angeles all of a sudden. Great pickup for them with J.C. Jackson. Moving on, my second favorite one was James Daniels going from the Chicago Bears to the Steelers on a 3-year deal in Pittsburgh. And the Steelers absolutely snagged a great offensive lineman here, which was a big need for them was offensive line. They're getting in my opinion, one of the top guards in the league, and I want to say he's only 24 years old on a 3-year deal, so that is just a great pickup by Pittsburgh, and I am absolutely flabbergasted that the Bears even considered letting James Daniels walk, but they did, and the Steelers got themselves a steal. And then my third and possibly my favorite even, I really like this pickup by the Lions. The Lions pick up wide receiver DJ Chark from the Jaguars on a 1-year deal. Now, DJ Chark was injured last year, so of course he didn't have much production. But back in Minshew's rookie season and in his rookie season back when he came out of the 2018 draft, he was an absolute baller. And they get on him on a pretty cheap deal, a 1-year, $10 million deal. Granted, it's
fully guaranteed.
It's
though.
fully guaranteed, which is a little risky because DJ Chark does have a past history with injuries. But if he can stay healthy, he is going to be a great receiver there with the Lions, especially with the likings of Amon-Ra and Josh Reynolds, who they just extended. And then moving on to the Vikings signing. The Vikings have signed 2 players so far. They signed former Bills defensive tackle Harrison Phillips to a 3-year deal. And this is what I was talking about a little bit ago that really surprised me and really confused me on if we're going to be running a 4-3 or a 3-4. Because, we cut Michael Pierce, who would be a really good 3-4 defensive tackle, and we pick up Harrison Phillips, who's a 4-3 defensive tackle coming out of Buffalo, and keep Dalvin Tomlinson, who's a 4-3 defensive tackle. So I thought we were going to go to the 3-4, but now we're sitting here with 2 pretty good 4-3 defensive tackles. So I don't know. But then moving on to our second signing, which is another one I already talked about to confuse me even more, we pick up a 3-4 linebacker. Or no, sorry, the Eagles did run a 4. Or what did the Cardinals run?
They ran a 4-3.
They did run a 4-3
on the defensive end.
Okay, sorry. So actually, Jordan Hicks is a 4-3 defensive linebacker. I was thinking that the Cardinals ran a 3-4, but you are correct. So I guess at this point, maybe we are going to run a 4-3.
Sounds like it.
I give up on even trying to guess what Ed Donatell we're doing.
For it that fit
but
that system.
We pick up linebacker Jordan Hicks, which I really like that pickup. Like I mentioned earlier, I mentioned him as a guy I wanted the Vikings to pick up, and my wish came true. We did it here right before we started recording, so I love that pickup. He's a great pass coverage linebacker, which is something the Vikings use a lot, is our linebackers in pass coverage. So, great signing. I love that one, Quessy. Good job. So, now we'll jump over to Callan with his favorites and the Packers signing.
So, well, they don't really have any signings yet. They had a re-signing, but
yeah.
For my free agents, though, one of the ones that jumped out right away is the very first free agent to sign, and that's Alex Kappa to the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, the Bengals needed offensive line help, and they immediately went out and are trying to make that offensive line better. So I think that's a great pickup. The second one is another offensive lineman. It's Brandon Sheriff to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who, like James Daniels, is one of the top guards, in my opinion, in the NFL. A little bit older than Daniels, but another Iowa person, so another shout out to them.
I love an Iowa boy.
So yeah, he like seeing them get paid. It helps out the whole program. So,
yeah.
And I like that Sheriff is mainly a strong, powerful run blocking left guard or right guard. I think he's think he's a right
I
guard.
think he's right.
Yeah,
I
but
think he's a right guard.
his main thing is he's a run-blocking bulldozer. So I like that the Jaguars are trying to build around the run.
With a guy like James Robinson, that's always smart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they have ETN still, possibly.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about
Yeah.
him. He'll be back.
So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out in Jacksonville. And then my third one is a little bit under the radar, but it's J.D. McKissick to Buffalo. Because McKissick is a pure third down running back, receiving running back. And think about him with Josh Allen as a safety valve. Those two are going to tear it up, and it's going to make third down and even third and longs much more possible just with that combination right there. Yeah.
And Callan brought this up yesterday, but the Bills seem to be kind of done with Devin Singletary. I mean, they gave him a chance a few times last year, and he totally capitalized and played really well on those chances they gave him. But then they just kind of stopped giving him chances, which was very strange. So I don't know what the situation is there with Singletary, but yeah, J.D. McKissick, I like that signing. He might kind of be a replacement.
And then the big Packers re-signing is middle linebacker Devondre Campbell, who was a first-team All-Pro and was the team leader in tackles. He's a 5-year, $50 million year deal, so that's $10 million a year.
Year deal?
Yeah.
$50 million a year?
$50 million a year. Yeah. $50 million for 5 years.
$10 million a year. Yeah, I got
$10
you.
million a year. There we go. I jumbled it a little bit, but no, he's not. They pay him that much. Then the cap really would be a myth.
The cap really would. It already is.
Blowing out Rodgers.
Hashtag cap's a myth.
Cap's
Flood Twitter. It's a myth. Stupid ass cap room.
So that's the only real Packers signing so far, besides their releases and the Rodgers extension, obviously. So
yeah,
but I'll take it.
It's been a really fun free agency period so far. So like I said, check it out. There's a ton of other ones. You know, the Jets pick up guard Laken Tomlinson. The Jaguars give Christian Kirk so much more money than he deserves. So we'll see if he pays off at all.
That's not helping out the Devontae Adams situation.
Christian Kirk's going to have to play really well to match that contract. So we'll see if he does. But there's just too many. So go check them out. But that's all we have for today's episode of Eating W's. Check back in tomorrow when we have Callan's Mock Draft 1.0. But until then, don't forget
to eat the W.